And we welcome you to Good Day Chicago in our 9 o'clock hour today, a special hour as we honor a special civil rights legend. It is a long goodbye that we've been a part of for the last couple of weeks, but we are live at homegoing services for Reverend Jesse Jackson at House of Hope on 114th. Tia Ewing came in early to be a part of this today.
You know what's really incredible, Anita, is seeing all the people out there. House of Hope holds 10,000 people, and I'm going to guess that more than 10,000 people are going to be there, but we're expecting a lot of big names at today's services, including former Presidents Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Bill Clinton. Our team is there as well, and we'll have you covered all morning long. And we do want to check in with Saquon this morning. She's been out there talking to people in line. Saquon, you've been out there. A lot of people giving you a lot of different narratives of why they decided to pay their respects to Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. We want to bring you into the conversation. Tell us what you've heard from people this morning.
Well, you know, I will say, just talking to some of the people in line, people are traveling from near and far to be here, to be a part of this historic day, and not only, you know, remember him, but also learn how to carry that legacy with them moving forward. The people in line, guys, I will just talk about the energy, too, because I think spirits are high for the most part. People are excited to be here. People are really embracing the fact that there are going to be tens of thousands of people who are showing up here. In fact, we know that the doors are going to be opening up in just a little bit. They're supposed to be opening up at around 9 o'clock today, and we're right next to the door. So we're just on standby mode to see really how that energy shifts as they start walking in. Now, I will say, you know, too, guys, we know with an event like this that is expected to draw so many people, this is going to be a highly secured event as well. And guys, I do want to show you right now, the doors are starting to open. Keep in mind, you know, we saw people starting to line up well before the doors were opening, obviously. People started getting out here as early as 6, 7 o'clock this morning. In fact, you're taking a look at this right now, the madness. It's about to get a whole lot louder in here right now, guys. People, for the most part, though, really praising the work of the Reverend, you know, the work that he did, both, you know, in front of people's faces, right, in the public eye, but at the same time, the work he did off camera as well. People really love to talk about his energy and who he was as a person. People telling me, you know, I am somebody, and I think that is a quote that really resonated with them. A lot of people also told me that Reverend Jackson was the type of person who could just say just a few words, and that was enough to send a powerful message to people he was connecting with. So as you take a look here, I mean, you can see the crowd. I mean, we're talking so many different people. Again, traveling from near and far. We talked to the president of Operation Push out in Miami this morning. He said, I think Reverend Jackson would be very disappointed if I didn't show up. So, of course, that was my first instinct, was, you know, to book a flight out here as soon as I can. He came with other people from Miami as well. So once again, I mean it when I say people are traveling from near and far, from Indiana, from different parts of Illinois, really all across the country. And as you mentioned, you know, some big names expected to come out here as well, including the former presidents. We're talking Barack Obama, Joe Biden, even the Clintons. So lots to expect here. I think a lot of people are also talking about the fact that, you know, those big names being here is a true testament to the work that the Reverend has done over decades. So, guys, it's getting crowded out here. People are now starting to scream through metal detectors right now. This has been, once again, a very highly secured event. This also applies to members of media, literally anybody who is walking in for these public homegoing services. So lots to be on watch here. We are going to be speaking with some incredible guests this morning as well. And we hope to bring you some more of those conversations as people really do remember and honor and celebrate the life of Reverend Jesse Jackson.
We won't bother you with many questions right now as people are starting to come in. We know it's pretty loud there. I watched that setup behind her get set up last night, and even those moments of where you're seeing it come to fruition for today, it just seemed so special. Thank you, Say. We're going to be checking back in with you, especially as those guests make their way over to her mic. You know, as we look at the crowds outside, one of the things that we were saying, other than the fact of how beautiful it really is, and the fact that, you know, the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr. always brought people together. Yeah. So many years of huge crowds that would come together. He is credited with mobilizing more than 6 million people to register to vote over the course of his lifetime, and to see them come now to celebrate his life, even though we don't have the sunshine outside is something in and of itself. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about our forecast.
Yeah, and Mike Kaplan, you know, we did mention that there was a ground stop out there because of weather. Hopefully that won't interrupt people being able to fly in for the services for Jesse Jackson. But tell us what you're seeing in terms of the fog, and I know some rain is moving into the area.
Rain is on the way, Tia and Anita. Good morning, everybody. Not quite into the city yet, but it is mighty close. We'll look at the radar in a little bit. Already, look at the temperature spread. 41, that's it at Waukegan, but it's 52 at Midway, 57 at Kankakee, and later today there is going to be about a 15-degree spread from north to south, with much of Chicagoland getting in the 70s. Now, we continue to have a dense fog advisory for all of Chicagoland for about another hour or so, but the amount of fog has really gone down. Where the rain has come in, it's actually stirring up the atmosphere, so the visibilities are coming up somewhat while it is pouring. But speaking of rain, here's a wide view. Showers and thunderstorms spreading in from the west. Let's zoom in on a few spots. Pouring. I'm getting a lot of reports on my Facebook page from absolute downpours, most of Lake County. Heavy rainfall. Mrs. C reporting in some heavy rain there. This arcs all the way into far northwestern Cook County around Barrington. This reaches into Kane County, pouring over the Fox River Valley, Batavia, St. Charles, into Aurora. Kendall County, not quite in the heavy rain yet, but there you see Chicago, most of Cook County, currently not in the heavy rain. So actually a couple of outflow boundaries, a gush of cool air ahead of the thunderstorms now, moving through parts of Grundy, LaSalle, and Livingston County. So there might be a shelf cloud with that. I don't expect severe weather this morning, but there is a chance for a thunderstorm that could be stronger maybe late tonight. The highest risk of that will be in the yellow shaded areas northwest of the city. But be weather ready today. Storms moving through right now. I think our official high today, 68 at O'Hare, just 2 degrees off of the record for this date set back in 2000. We're going to take a quick break and be back with more of Good Day after this.
Somebody. I may be a student. But I am. Somebody. I am proud. I must be respected. I must be protected. I am. Somebody. Soul power. Soul power. Right on. Right on.
And thank you so much for staying with us here on Fox Chicago. We will have extensive coverage of the homegoing service for Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. And, you know, I want to put something into perspective before we go to Saquon. Anita, I was just thinking about this because I don't think people really realize, you know, if you put it into perspective, really the hurdles that Jesse Jackson overcame. He grew up in South Carolina, left in 1959, and really grew up as the person who had to go to the back of the bus. Grew up as the person who could not go into a public library, and he himself was able to then write 5 books. So he overcame so many different odds, went on to then go to seminary school, and so this is somebody who could galvanize the people, and he's doing that in death as well.
And you know what, when you think of those times, I said earlier with Anthony and Gabby that it is a testament to how far we've come. That the things that you mentioned there in South Carolina, that his body would then lie in state in South Carolina, where he overcame those hurdles over time and continued to fight on for so many other people, letting everyone know that you are somebody. You should carry yourself as though you deserve the things that are to be had in this world. So it is one of those days when we hold on to the words of a great legend, when we think back on the trials and the triumphs, and we press forward too in hope that there are still brighter days ahead. You know, we have our own Saquon, who is there at the House of Hope, who has been seeing those lines build all morning. And tell us a little bit more about how it's making you feel being there today.
Well, guys, you know, I think for me, I'm just really inspired and really moved by all of the people I've been able to talk to this morning. You know, people started lining up hours ago for doors to open up at 9 o'clock. It actually just opened up just a few minutes ago. Some of these conversations have been really moving as well. Obviously, you hear about the impact Reverend Jackson had firsthand on some of these people. And, you know, I think right now, I do want to talk about this because there's such a big conversation around what is next? You know, who carries this torch now? You know, and specifically, you know, we think about these younger generations, the generations to come, right? They may know his name and who he is, but will they really understand the work that he truly did, you know, outside of the public eye? What was he doing? And where do you really even start with that? So these are the questions and the conversations I've really been having all throughout the morning. And the message is pretty clear and pretty similar with a lot of these people, which is that we have to carry that legacy. It's us now who have to move this forward and who have to teach the generations to come. Really quickly, though, I do just want to say this is a pretty big change from when we last checked in. As you can see, there are so many people here, you guys. This doesn't even really do it justice. You know, these people have been waiting in line for hours, and they're just starting to get in. Right now, I see there's kind of a little traffic jam, if you will, of people trying to get in line. A lot of people are just excited to get in here. They also are looking for a sense of community in this as well. Going back, though, to that conversation about younger generations, younger people in general, what do you do? What happens next? And, you know, it was so interesting. I actually talked with a gentleman this morning who was saying nowadays we have these. We have phones. And, you know, he talked about how he really hopes the younger generation is able to put those phones aside and actually physically show up, you know, marching, showing up with groups of people, because that sparks a different kind of energy and a different kind of urgency in situations where, you know, people may want to stand up for something. I do want to highlight one of my conversations that I had with the principal of Epic Academy. Actually, I noticed this when we were at the line of repose just last week on the first day. You know, we saw a line just like this, right? I mean, it was packed with people, and there were a group of students out there, and that shocked me. I think for the most part, the people in the crowds were older, but when you see these students, it catches your eye, right? So I actually asked them individually, what is one word that you think of when you hear the name Jesse Jackson. And here are some of those words. It was faithful, it was legendary, icon, and yes, this is two words, but civil rights. So it's not like these younger generations don't necessarily know who he is and what he has done, but it's the depth that I think is really important here in the years to come and in the decades to come. I do want to share part of my conversation with the principal of Epic Academy because it was so inspiring hearing why she brought her students out to that line and oppose last week. Listen. We talked about the fact that you brought your students out here. Will you just tell me why that was so important and why you decided to take action on that?
Yeah, so we want to make sure that as Chicagoans, we participate in our city's civic duty. And one of the things that I want to make sure my young people understand is that they don't need to be invited to a space such as this. This is their space. And to honor such an icon such as Reverend Jackson, it is a moment that they need to be participating in. We do a great job at school within our classrooms, but coming outside for field experiences is exactly what we needed at this moment. So we want to honor him, his family, as well as his legacy. So that's why we're here.
Absolutely. Dr. Matthews, catch me up to speed. What is maybe the curriculum when it comes to these students? Obviously, we're talking about freshmen, the seniors, it sounds like. What is being taught in these classrooms when it comes to the Reverend, but also the many things that he has done for so many people?
I do believe that we do a good job with civic engagement in general, right? We understand that we have historical icons that we study in their plights against civil rights, their plights against working people, and we are a working class family, South Chicago representing. And I just want to make sure our kids know that history happens because you participate in it. I would love for them to know that they are a part of the decisions that come along in their city, and they also are, they should honor the icons that came before them to pave the way.
Well, and I think that is so special to hear from that principal because education was also a huge focus for the Reverend. Youth education, equal education, and I think, honestly, I think the Reverend would be really proud that these students showed up and wanted to learn. And I think, you know, the actions of that principal, making sure that her students are up to date on what has been going on and the impact he had. So safe to say, you know, education is advancing for sure, especially with Dr. Matthews at Epic Academy. Just had to highlight that conversation. You're looking right now at just some live cameras here, once again, kind of jammed up when it comes to the front doors. This is gate 4, and a lot of people are trying to squeeze in here for these homegoing services that are open to the public at 11 o'clock. So we'll be on watch, guys. I know it's a little bit loud out here. It's pretty chaotic, as you can imagine. A lot of them are screening in through these metal detectors as we speak. We'll check back in with you as soon as we can.
You know, Saquon, we're looking at the masses of people. House of Hope holds about 10,000 people. Can you tell us really what the mood has been? Because you've been out there since the very beginning. Walk us through what time you got there and really the mood and the conversations that maybe people are having just even around you.
Well, let's cut to the chase. You know, I think it's very clear when it comes to these homegoing services, you're talking about every single media organization you can think of that are going to be here. And so, you know, for us and our crews, we got here as early as about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock this morning just to, you know, make sure we had our bases covered. Now, you mentioned the energy here. And you know, it doesn't shock me, but I will say the energy has been very high. I feel like people are really excited. They want to learn more. They want to be able to connect and find community here as well. And so, you know, I've heard people in line talking about their favorite memories of Reverend just amongst each other. And I think that is exactly the energy that Reverend kind of wanted. And I think this is exactly how you celebrate and honor the life of the Reverend and the legacy, right? People are connecting, people of all ages, talking amongst each other, talking about how great the Reverend was. People want to talk about him. And this is a space where that is not only accepted, but actually encouraged.
Yeah, say it's almost a therapeutic experience to be able to come together and share in this moment. We're going to be checking back in with you throughout our time here, and we are going to cover this throughout the day. So we know the services are expected to begin around 11 a.m. this morning. The doors just opened. Security is tight. You think about a place where you're going to have 3 former U.S. presidents, also a former U.S. vice president, and there will be many other dignitaries, the president of the Republic of Colombia, and many others who will be there as well. Security is tight, so we want everyone to be patient. Traffic, even getting there.
Yes.
It will require some patience as well as we give you these live looks outside. I mean, these are folks who have pressed through.
And you mentioned press through because this morning, you know, I travel this route to go past House of Hope every single day to get to work and to go home. And I checked this morning because I was just curious, you know, what time are people waking up to be there? And around 6 a.m., there was jammed traffic right in that stretch of where House of Hope is. And, you know, I want to bring up something, Anita, because when I look at these pictures, I wasn't around at the time when this happened, but it makes me think of video footage that I've seen from the Black National Convention of 1972 that was in Gary, Indiana. And at that time, you had people come from all across the country, entertainers, people that were in politics, activists, come together. And Jesse Jackson was a part of that, galvanizing those people to come into Gary, Indiana. So this is absolutely wonderful to see. And you also mentioned, you know, him being in South Carolina, being from South Carolina and lying in repose there at the state. And I looked this up last night because it just astounded me that this was even possible. But when he left South Carolina in 1959, black residents still could not enter the South Carolina state capitol. Then. They could not enter until 1969. And he became the only second black man in South Carolina history to receive the honor to lie in state.
That's why it's so amazing what we are seeing right now. We'll be right back with more of our coverage here.
Oversight Illinois needs.
the whole morning is just a sight to behold and music to our ears, quite literally right there. And in fact, we're going to hear that song yet again during these ceremonies today. It will be sung by Leandria Johnson, gospel singer. I'm getting my tissues ready because I know it will be a moment.
She's from Chicago.
She is so awesome, and we've watched her for years as her career has blossomed. And so that will be the gift that she is giving back to Reverend Jackson today, that song that means so much to the movement.
Yes, we want to go back to Saquon, who was there to actually capture that moment of people singing in unity. Saquon, what was that experience like? I know you've had so many different varying experiences this morning, but what was that like as you heard all of those people singing in unison, something that I think we all still feel no matter when that song came out. We still feel that today.
I'm so glad you said that, honestly, because, like you said, we do still feel that. And this is what I meant by, people here are looking for a sense of community, right? People here want to talk about him. People want to share their favorite memories about him and the things that he has done for so many of these people. And so you think about people singing together. I mean, I don't know how to better sum it up for you guys. This is truly what the crowd is like. This is the energy of it all. And I think, hearing people today, for me personally, hearing all these people talk amongst themselves about their experiences either running into the Reverend, whether that be at a restaurant or just listening to him speak, it was really powerful to me. And once again, that community is strong here. I do want to just talk about the fact that there are so many people right now, and I'm kind of distracted. I will say it got really hot in here as well, because you talk about tens of thousands of people who are walking in right now. So there's going to be a little bit of a traffic jam, and I think it is worth mentioning that, you got to have a little patience, right? We're all here trying to do the same thing. Everyone is here for the same exact reasons, and it's going to definitely take a little bit of time for people to get checked in and screened through metal detectors today.
Yeah, and say so many people are stopping right behind you for the photo opportunity. I think it's awesome, the fact that they have a photo opportunity as soon as people come in, because one of the things that Reverend Jackson was known for is how many pictures he would take with people, and so they're getting one more picture with him even there right before the services began.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think these photo opportunities are huge because this is now what they are holding on to. This is the reason why they showed up. There are several photo opportunities, I will just mention, throughout House of Hope right now. This is just one of very few walls with a huge gallery wall of him. But, I even heard stories from people who have worked in this market, in particular, journalists, photojournalists, who said Reverend Jackson would always, make the time to say hello and greet everybody. So, guys, I'll toss things back to you for now. It's a little chaotic, but we'll check back in as soon as we can.
Thank you, Say. We appreciate it.
All right, well, stay with us. Our coverage of the homegoing services for Reverend Jackson will continue right after this break. Stay with us.
Commissioner and I approved this ad.
9:30 on this Friday, and there is still fog over the city. There's a view there outside our building, and it's murky. However, they're having some changes, updates to the dense fog advisory. I'll share that with you in a little bit. Temperatures are on the way up. Question is, how far can we go? Let's see where we are now. Kankakee, Rensselaer already flirting with that 60-degree mark. 57 at Gary, 51 at the lakefront. We've got 50 at O'Hare, but only 45 at Waukegan. There will be a temperature spread across the area from north to south, but all of us are going to see unseasonable warmth. Now, take a look at this map. Gone, most of the counties that had been under that dense fog advisory till 10. Counties adjoining Lake Michigan, that's where the fog is going to hang on here for at least another half hour or so. And you can see the visibilities have improved area-wide. We're up to 3 miles at O'Hare. Ground stop should have ended now at 9:30. Valparaiso is still very low with only a quarter-mile visibility. And I think along the lakefront, we'll continue to see some of that fog today. All right, a line of thunderstorms crossing the area right now. It is still just to the northwest of the city. Some of the heaviest rains coming down now in eastern Lake County, far northern Cook County. I'm sure pouring in Lake Forest and Lake Bluff right now. South we go through Arlington Heights, headed right toward O'Hare, so maybe they will extend that ground stop. We'll let you know. Bolingbrook, a little shower for you. Farther to the west, additional showers and thunderstorms working their way through LaSalle County. Very heavy rain. That's the main threat, along with the lightning. We had some pea-sized hail around DeKalb earlier this morning. That appears to have ended. I don't think we'll see any severe weather this morning. This is for mainly tonight, and it may be late tonight. Highest risk of a severe thunderstorm in the yellow shaded area. I'm not impressed with a widespread severe weather outbreak around here. 68, that's my number for today at O'Hare. If it hits 70 there, that would tie the record set back most recently in 2000. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, so be weather ready at almost any point in time today, but there will be some dry time to get those temperatures up. 58 late tonight, breezy, unseasonably mild with that period of showers and thunderstorms ending very early tomorrow morning. Our high tomorrow happens probably around midnight, 64. Tomorrow night, we lose an hour of sleep. Daylight saving time starts, so set your clocks. The ones that don't do it automatically ahead an hour. 60 on Sunday. Monday looks beautiful. Then the next storm system comes in here Tuesday and Wednesday with a few showers, followed by a cool down. Tia, Anita, back to you.
All right, thank you, Mike. You know, one of the things that we are talking about weather-wise, but also in terms of the time period that we're in is transition.
Yes.
You know, transition through the seasons, but also a transition even when we speak of our special coverage today for Reverend Jackson. And we're seeing people of all ages, all races
yes.
Come to the House of Hope to honor him today.
And you know what's interesting? I know Mike Kaplan has been talking about the forecast, rain, a little lightning possibly out there, and of course the fog. That has not stopped this crowd from gathering. People are still in line, pouring into the House of Hope. And in fact, Saquon has been there. She watched people start coming in at around 9 this morning. It's 34 minutes after the hour, Saquon. Tell us about how many people have come in, you know, since those doors opened.
Well, guys, there have been a lot of people who have walked in through these doors. And, you know, it's the standard process for an event that draws tens of thousands of people, right? They have to screen, they have to take their jackets off, they have to be checked with all of their bags and their items. So this is quite a process. And I think for the folks, I mean, I can see right now there are still folks outside, not even really in the door area. So it's definitely going to take some time and definitely some patience with that as well. I will say, though, I've seen some people heading over to the merch tent behind me. They're starting to sell things like t-shirts and sweatshirts. Actually, in line this morning, I was talking to a gentleman who had a pin that had a picture of Reverend Jesse Jackson and, you know, the dates of you know, from when he was born to when he passed. And people are making this a thing. You know, people are selling pins. People are sharing their stories. It's been really incredible to see, and I'm sure it would not shock me if these people in line, as they're waiting to get inside, just like everybody else, you know, I'm sure they are sharing stories of the Reverend as well. Actually, I was one of those people. I was in the bathroom this morning and just washing my hands, and some woman came up to me and said, "It's a big day. You know, we're all here for the same thing." And I just, these are exactly the conversations these people are having. Energy is very high right now as well. There was like a dance party out there. There was a DJ truck that pulled up in the parking lot, music blasting this morning. People were dancing in line. So energy is very high and up right now. As you mentioned, I've been talking with so many different people this morning, and it's been so insane hearing some of these stories of them meeting the Reverend or of them running into the Reverend. I actually met a mom and a son. So you think about the age difference there. And we actually heard from this gentleman first who talked about how he learned about Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. in the classrooms. Listen to this.
So it's a pleasure to say that I know the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson because he inspired a dream inside of me. As a young student at Langston University, when he first ran for, or second time he ran for president, we were encouraged to have him visit the campus. We were encouraged to jump on and encourage all of our friends to come out and vote and get registered to vote. That was a big deal. And so that dream sort of landed in our lap, and I would later go on and get myself involved in Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, where one of our main goals is voting. And so to be able to go into our communities and encourage people to vote, encourage people to stand for justice, and encourage people to understand that your neighbor is just as important as your family is. And that's what Reverend Jackson left a dream and a hope for us for all of these years. And we're going to continue the dream.
Exactly. Keeping hope alive for sure. All right. We have much more coming up here for our special coverage of the Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr. Stay right here. We'll be right back.
Days on Fox.
There's a tug of war for America's soul. We have a clear choice. Take down walls of separation, build bridges of hope and unity. Love must trump ignorance and fear and hatred and violence. We love under one big kin, for all including none must be left behind. We've learned To survive a problem, must now learn to live together as brothers and sisters.
There are so many moments like that from the Reverend Jesse Jackson. That was him speaking at the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia in 2016, as we take today to reflect on the impact he's made, not just on our nation, but the entire world. Here at home, a barbershop, we know it, has long been more than a place for a haircut. It's where stories are shared, wisdom is passed down, and community is built. That's actually all across the world. But for more than 3 decades, Larry Roberts Jr. has been part of that tradition, turning a skill he discovered as a teen into a career. One of the most meaningful moments in his life had nothing to do with his business. It happened quietly during a haircut inside the home of civil rights icon Jesse Jackson.
I would say work on that swirl a little bit more, though.
For more than 3 decades, Larry Roberts Jr. has built more than a business. The barber turned entrepreneur has built a legacy.
I have 12 barber school licenses, so 12 barber schools, including the jails and the juvenile. And I have shops in 2 Walmart locations.
But the journey didn't begin with 12 schools. It started with a 13-year-old boy from Chicago who knew exactly what he wanted.
Let's talk about how we got here. When did you start cutting hair? How old were you?
I started cutting hair when I was 13 years old. I told my parents this is what I wanted to do. So at 17, I went to barber school. I was still a senior in high school.
Before middle school was over, he had already found his calling. Before most teenagers were thinking about careers, he was building one. And as his name grew, so did the rooms he was invited into. Not every haircut happened inside a barbershop. Some clients required privacy, trust, and discretion.
We have to touch everybody. Being a celebrity barber, servicing a lot of different clients, and you just never ever know the people who are looking at you, because they had to call me and ask me to cut the Reverend's hair.
One of the most defining moments of Robert's life happened quietly inside the home of civil rights icon Reverend Jesse Jackson. It would be the last time he ever cut his hair. A photo captured the moment, one that would mean even more later.
I was the last person to cut his hair, before he, transitioned. Definitely was an honor for me. I kind of kissed him on the top of his head, and told him I loved him, and he grabbed my hand. This particular time, he held it a little bit longer, I would say, and I just kind of felt something different at that time.
Roberts grew up listening to Jackson's speeches at Operation Push, hearing chants.
In a barbershop, we listen to that push, I am somebody and all of that, so, I go way back as it relates to that.
Those words stayed with Roberts.
What kind of impact did those messages have on you?
Well, the impact that they had on me is having a school on the 79th Street, having businesses and schools in the Wild Hundreds that I've been, around this area for almost 30 years now. Hearing him speak and talk about certain things gave me more empathy and compassion for the people that come in, asking for a job. It just kind of gave me more empathy and compassion for helping people outside of the $2 or $3, not just giving them a job or not just giving them $5 or $10, but what can I do in order to help you to be self-sustainable?
That compassion he learned decades ago is now taking physical shape. A brand new ground-up trade school, part of his Larry's Barbershop brand, rising from the soil of Chicago's Washington Heights neighborhood.
So you see how it's graduated right there? Yep. You want that to be able to graduate all the way from here.
For the past year, Robert served as Jackson's barber, and with that came an up-close and personal view as Jackson's health slowly declined.
What made you know that was the last time?
I think it was like a vibe, because when I was turning to walk away, they pretty much said, hey, the Reverend wants you. And that's when he reached out his hand and I grabbed his hand and he kind of held it really, really tight. And something seemed different, right? But this particular time I kind of, hugged him, and it was kind of that interaction just kind of let me know, maybe the time was nearing.
The haircut didn't come with a price tag, because for Larry Roberts Jr., being in the room with Reverend Jesse Jackson wasn't about money. It was about service, honoring a man whose voice lifted generations for a lifetime.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If they would have tried to give me anything, I would have left it behind or whatever, because you couldn't pay me, because they could have called anybody else to service this man. They could have called anybody else, but they called me, and it was definitely an honor. It was my pleasure, and it was definitely a joy to be able to service him.
And of course, course, we are covering the public homegoing services for Reverend Jackson today. But for Roberts, he will attend the private homegoing that will happen tomorrow. And we were talking a little bit while that was going about how the Reverend loved pictures. He would take pictures with everybody. He would, I mean, if there were 100 people in line, 100 people got a picture.
Yeah. He was rarely on schedule, you know, so we don't know what's going to happen today. But he was rarely on schedule because he would take so much time to be personable with people. And again, that's a part of why so many people have stories of meeting him because he stopped to take the time.
He did.
And people really, I think he embraced his role in people's lives and how important people found him over the generations.
Right.
It's not many civil rights leaders that we can say, you know, went home to glory peacefully, quite honestly. And so today it will be a heavy day, but also a day to celebrate a life well lived. We'll be right back.
Local.
All right, we're back at 9:49 right now, and what moments we have been able to capture as people have started now to make it into the House of Hope and get their seats, get their pictures, and exchange some stories. And we're seeing people from all walks of life.
We are, and in fact, I know Say has two local mayors there with her right now. She has Mayor of the Village of Dalton. She has Jason House with her, and she also has Mayor Joseph Rudez from University Park. Say, you got these two men there to talk to you. What do they have to say as they celebrate the life of Reverend Jesse Jackson?
Yeah.
I'm going to stay in my
Absolutely. Well, I think, you know, for the most part, let's just talk really quickly about the line because we are seeing things progress a little bit throughout the minute. The line is starting to thin out a little bit. It seems like most of the people who were in line waiting for hours this morning have started to come in. So that's some good news. Once again, if you are in the line or if you're kind of in the area, just make sure that you are staying patient because it definitely is a process to get in here. You have to get screen through all these metal detectors. Security has to check your bags. Very typical for an event that draws tens of thousands of people. Joining us this morning, two gentlemen here. I'm lucky enough to be able to chat with them. And let's start with you. Tell me about your personal connection to the Reverend, because, you know, we've been hearing it this morning. Everyone is here for the same reason, and that is to celebrate and honor and remember the legacy he leaves behind.
Oh, absolutely. First of all, I want to start off in saying thank you to the Jackson family for their sacrifice in sharing the Reverend with us, because there's a monumental sacrifice when it comes to leadership at that level. Reverend Jackson, I would consider him not just a Reverend and the director of Rainbow Push, but a friend of mine. I'm the mayor of University Park. In 2019, we were affected by lead in our water system. Reverend Jackson came out, ensured that we were getting the best that we possibly could, and I really like his stances on the environment and justice and equality for everyone, and I'm ever so grateful for everything that he's done. The personal relationship, it goes without saying, and to think that we have an opportunity to actually work with the person who was there when Dr. King was assassinated. It had to be traumatic for him, but he took that tragedy and turned it into triumph. And just looking around, look at all the people's lives that he's touched. So I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to be here, and I'm so happy to say that Reverend Jackson and his entire family are friends of mine as well.
And we're going to circle back to you because I have more questions for you as well. Let's talk about your connection to the Reverend and maybe how he has impacted your life personally.
Oh, absolutely. I believe that he's been an inspiration to everybody, and big footsteps are being left behind for everybody to fill in. I mean, Reverend Jackson's passion and pride that he does, such a simple statement, I am somebody, but saying it with that passion, it makes you stick your chest out, and just the path forward that we have to live in. We want to live up to that.
Now, I want to go back to you. You said you were obviously great friends with the Jackson family. You know them very well. Will you let us into, you know, how he was behind closed doors and what kind of person he was? I'm hearing from people who knew him that he was very witty, he was very smart, he was very intelligent, and we only get to see such a small part of that in the public eye. I want to know what he was like, you know, behind all of the cameras. Ignore all the cameras. What was he like?
He was a very personable guy, but he was very concerned about the well-being of everyone's family. But more importantly, he was concerned about the well-being and health of our people. And that's concerning. It wasn't about prejudice. It doesn't matter what the color of the person was. It was justice and equality for everyone. Reverend Jackson was just as humble. He was a jokester, but he was about the business, and he could really think fast on his feet. And I've learned so much from him that sometimes you don't realize what you've learned until the person has gone on. But now all those things are going to be happening to us. And what we need to do since his departure is to ensure that every elected official, every mayor, or every community person has to take an opportunity to pour back into their community. So that's one of the great memories I have of the great late Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr.
Yeah, such a powerful message, and I think so many people can resonate with that as well. And I want to go back to you now. I know we're doing a lot of flip-flopping here. You know, one of the biggest things that I've heard, you know, in the last few weeks is, where do we go from here? I think we think a lot about these younger generations and generation now, the generation of leaders. So what is next? I mean, what do you think Reverend would have wanted, and what do you think personally?
I think that he really just wants us to be our best versions of ourselves. The Reverend Jackson, as Mayor Ruda just mentioned, it's not about color. It's about doing the right things all the time and being an inspiration to those that come behind us.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Guys, we'll toss things back to you. Once again, line is starting to thin out, so it seems like most of the people here are really starting to make their way inside House of Hope. Guys?
Yeah, we have seen some lines outside. Hopefully things are maybe getting orderly in terms of people filing in there, and we know so many people are trying to make it in. So say thank you as we continue our coverage here. You know, there aren't many things that bring so many people together outside of, say, sports these days. So it really is something special to be able to see all of these people who don't care how long they have to wait to be able to be there inside.
And one thing that they were talking about there is Jackson's legacy. What will that look like moving forward? And we heard Say say they were selling merchandise. And I do want to point out the fact that there is a legacy fund that was created. This is a nonprofit. They're using that money to go towards Jackson's vision. They want to support all kinds of things. They're talking about educational initiatives, including scholarships for the youth. We know Jackson was huge on being involved with the youth and shaping the youth, and also sustaining ongoing operations of Rainbow Push. So that's where that money is going. And so that's kind of what they're going to do forward. They're going to try to move his legacy forward. And a lot of it will be pouring into the youth because they are our future.
They really are. And so this is a moment, a multi-generational moment for all of us today. We'll be right back.
Here's that.
Better. 9:58 as we give you three different looks towards the ceremonies that will soon be underway for the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr. So many people with great stories, great memories from throughout the years. You can see some of his family coming in there. There's former Congressman Jesse Jr. and some of the other family members that are making their way again. They have been so gracious.
They have.
In their time of mourning, of giving everyone their time and hugs.
And even before mourning, we have to remember that, you know, one of the mayors said it there, that they have basically given their father to the world. Being a person in service is not easy. I'm sure there's plenty of events that they've had throughout the years that unfortunately he may have had to miss. So that is a huge part when you're dedicating your life to make other people's lives better. And that's something that we cannot forget when we mention his name, that he existed so that even we could sit here. You know, I don't know if people know